Chris, welcome to the podcast, brother. Jeez, I'm happy to have you here.
It's good to be here, brother.
Bro, what a beautiful morning. Back here on the Goldie. You spent a little while away. Dude, I'm keen to unpack this last 12 months, couple years. We had a beautiful session this morning. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's always good coming back here. I think there's a nostalgic feeling because my life's changing so quickly. Every time I come back, this place has stayed the same. So it's great to lock back in and be back in with the people that I used to hang out with. It's
yeah,
good.
dude. Well, to be honest, man, like I think it's really fun that we're doing a podcast now. I was telling you on the phone the other day where it's just like we first linked probably like 3 years ago, maybe.
At the Whoop event in Sydney, you were speaking on your podcast.
Yeah, dude. But
2 years or so?
Yeah, a little while ago. But then even training at a Torah when you were living here on the Gold Coast, I was on your podcast a little while ago. And to be honest, I knew that we were going to do a podcast. Like I knew there was going to be a time. But I'm glad that we had a couple years in the bank, training, lifting, learning together, and now doing a full circle where you've gone off. You've had this incredible 12 months, which I'm keen to unpack. But now you're back here. It's like almost like a full circle moment, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even processed it that way. I'm here for like 2 weeks and then I'm back again. And it just feels like a different life. And I knew that going into it. I knew that moving to the other side of the world was going to come with its own challenges. But I guess I just aligned with what I was trying to achieve. And I just went, to achieve that, I need to be there. If I want to build one of the biggest shows in the world, I can't do it in Australia because an A-list guest in Australia is a C-list guest in America. I can get an A-list guest in Australia equivalent in America, like meeting them down at the coffee shop.
So was that the biggest reason why you wanted to move over there, is because you just want to create the biggest show possible?
Well, an aspect of it was, and that definitely fueled me. Like in my phone, it says #1 podcast in the world, and it definitely has fueled me for quite a while. But I guess the higher you climb in the ranks, the more you start to question if the price tag of entry far outweighs the prize. And
what have you landed on?
Well, I haven't landed anywhere and I'm still striving, but I guess when you start to see people up at the mountaintop and you get exposed to them and you start to connect with them just as a human to human connection level, you realize that there's aspects of their life that are great and there's aspects of their life that they've lost. They've fell in love or got addicted to the game. And I just observe it and I just go, what actually matters in life? And it's just a constant realignment of checking in with myself, what I'm trying to achieve, and go, does this path actually get me where I want to be? And if not, then if it's going to take the best parts of me, then I'm not sure if I'm willing to pay the price. So I'm just dancing with this idea of sprinting, going after it, achieving all of the things, and then also slowing down and like connecting with myself and making sure that all the decisions that I'm making are aligned with me and where I'm trying to go. Because
in the last 12 months, you were telling me you've caught 49 flights over the last 12 months or something like that?
Last year was 49 flights.
49 flights. You've interviewed some of the most impressive guests in the world, not just Australia, US, but in the world. And you talked about the strengths and weaknesses of it and taking bits and pieces of it. What's been one or a couple of the things that you've taken into your own life or that you've adopted or that you liked?
The big people are big because they actually think big.
Yeah.
You only know what you know until you know more. And if we go back to 12-year-old Chris leaving Early Beach and my parents moving me away to this massive town called the Gold Coast, I cried holding my best friend. I didn't want to leave him. I thought my parents were doing this horrible thing, taking me away from my family, my friends, my best friend, my school, my football team, and moving to this place called the Gold Coast. I cried. And then when I'm driving down here and a few flat tires on the way because our van was filled with all this shit we didn't need, and we get to the Gold Coast, and as we're driving up the hill to my dad's new home that was a shithole that he was renovating in Ashmore, he's like, look behind you, son. And I see this massive stadium, Metricon Stadium. And I was like, we live right next to that? And he's like, yeah. And football was my whole dream. And I just went, oh my goodness, my mind was just exposed to what was possible. That stadium's the smallest stadium in Australia.
Yeah.
But back then it was so big. And so you only know what you know. And then once you move to Sydney, all of a sudden the Gold Coast becomes a small town. And then you move to Austin, Texas, and you go, wow, like Australia is so small. And then you travel all around America and you go to London, and then you come back, and then you go to LA and you're in LA, and then you go to Malibu and a Rolls Royce is all of a sudden normal. And then all of a sudden, like, bloop, 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 things just become bigger. The greats have achieved greats because they actually believe that not only great is possible, but they can achieve it too. And what I realized is that if I want to actually achieve the things, I need to think that way. And I realized that what I thought was great in Australia is irrelevant in the rest of the world. We're in this little island on the bottom of that's what they view it like. They're like, Australia seems like a nice spot. I'm never getting there, mate. I'm not getting there.
But do you think you need to be in those environments, or do you think all those like little moments that you had as a kid, you know, seeing Metricon Stadium for the first time, almost like breaking that first ceiling, moving to the Gold Coast, then moving to Sydney, then moving to Austin, it's almost like, are you learning that these ceilings that we place upon ourselves are just in our own head, or do you actually have to be in that environment where you actually have to be in Austin to realize that the Gold Coast is such a small world, or Australia is such a small world?
Well, everything is in our own head.
Yeah.
Not just the ceilings of the life you want to live, the job you want, the career you want, the people you're competing with. It's all everything is in your head. And I could apply this to my career, my podcast, and what I've achieved. And while that's true, you don't need to be somewhere to achieve it, but sometimes you don't know. Like, for example, when I was telling you while we were training in the gym, all of the intricacies of my short form strategy with my podcast, I didn't know that when I was in Australia because I didn't need to. We were still doing well in Australia. We had great sponsors. We were making good money. I could kind of do what I want. The guests would fly in to me to speak with me in Australia. Shit was good.
Very comfortable, dude.
Right? And so, like, I can achieve my version of success in Australia without having to think about that stuff. And now that I know the stuff, because I got to America and I had to like figure something out. Now that I know the stuff, it's the standard wherever I am. I can come back to Australia and all of those things are still imprinted on me. We don't post anything that doesn't fit that criteria. But without going out there and broadening my perspective on what's actually out there and what I need to do to achieve the things that are out there, I never would have had that. So while you can obtain it without going anywhere else, the perspective sometimes broadens your peripherals on what's actually possible. And then when you can achieve that and be exposed to that, that's when you're actually forced to change. And then through that forcing of change increases your standard and what you believe to be possible.
Yeah. You wrote this one little thing around breaking ceilings, which I actually really loved. You said, keep going. It doesn't have to make sense. Dream bigger. Scary should be an understatement. Think louder. Express what you want in the world. They'll hold you accountable. I'm a kid from a small town in Australia that had nothing a few years ago. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I have no degrees. I barely made it out of high school, but I was relentless. I kept pushing, even though I had no idea of what I was doing. And for the record, I still don't know what I'm doing. That's the best part, because with uncertainty becomes growth. Dive in. I love that, dude.
Yeah. And I still don't know what I'm doing. And the question you asked before this was, what's the common thing you've seen in the greats? The real greats have removed their ego, and thinking that you know things, like, dude, you're just like this person running around on a spinning rock in a meat suit and you think you know things, like, you know nothing. I love that quote, the more I learn, the less I know. Like, the more you learn about stuff, the more you realize you know nothing. And the greats, the true greats, in their mind have no ego. I interviewed an author, one of the biggest authors in the world, Robin Sharma, the monk who sold his Ferrari, the 5 a.m. Club. He sold 40 million books or whatever the number is. And he's extremely profound. And I'm on my podcast and he's going like, I'll give you my 2 cents on this. It's all it's worth. But is it okay if I give you like what's worked for me in the past? I'm like, yeah.
Dude, that's the whole point of having you on, man. I'd love to have this conversation.
Yeah, but he's removed his ego. And it's the most refreshing thing. I do a breath work with every one of my guests before I dive into the show. We lock in, we do a breath work, and I find it really allows us to dive deep quickly. He entered my presence and the volume just turned down.
What do you mean?
He was so calm and he had done so much work himself that he was in my presence and nothing else mattered. Like all the noise drowned. You know those memes where like a man's had a chaos day at work and then like she had the wife taps him on the back or puts her hand on his head and like all of the noise just turns into like meditation music. Have you seen those memes? It's like your partner just like quiets your mind.
Yeah.
Like that's because they're turning the house into a home. They're creating a space that makes these walls feel like home. This guy had done so much work on himself and meditated and spent so much time alone that his presence calmed me without him doing anything. And a big part about that is he's confident in who he is, but he's also okay if he's wrong. He's okay if you don't get who he is, and he's not willing to bend for someone else. He's so sure with who he is that he's not trying to please anyone. And this freeing nature of having no ego there, and when I write there is like, I've achieved a lot, but I still don't know what I'm doing. Because it's so true, because the moment I live in this state that I know everything is the moment I should have it all stripped away from me to be reminded of what actually matters. I don't know anything.
Because I imagine if someone was to look at your content and look at your solo episodes that you've done or even any of your social media content, it would come from the angle where it's just like you are almost like giving advice or telling people what has worked for you. Is that kind of the angle that you're looking at it from, where it's like, this is just my own personal opinion, take it or leave it. It's not like I'm telling you what to do. Is that kind of the frame of it all?
Yeah, well, I think it has to be, because thinking that you don't have value to give and thinking that you know nothing is two different things.
Yeah.
Thinking you don't have value to give is a selfish act, and it's operating from a lens of fear and scarcity. Who should listen to me? Why should I make content? Like, no one cares about what I have to say. You're being selfish because you have a gift and you don't know what it is yet because you haven't started creating, you haven't identified what it is, but someone needs what you have and you're just depriving them.
Yeah.
Like, you can change someone's life with the message that you have, and there's people that are 3 steps behind you screaming to know how you got to where you are today. And so like you're being selfish in that lens, but telling people what to do like it's the only way is just like, dude, you need to get over yourself and get out of your own way.
Well, it's almost like, just look at what you've done in the last 12 months. It's just like you've had to walk the walk. Like, I'm sure someone could come to you and say, Chris, this is probably what you should do, or this would grow your podcast and grow your platform incredibly. You can hear that, but it's taken you actually to be in the weeds, to be like, no one actually really gives a fuck about me over here. I've got to build this thing back up from scratch. And you put yourself in a position where it's almost like forced you to grow. That's why I think like lived experience is so important, because you actually have to walk the walk. Like, you can stand on the shoulders of giants for sure, but actually being in the weeds actually like stretches you and grows you, I think.
Well, it's all you really have is your lived experience.
Yeah.
Like, all the rest is all just made up.
Yeah.
In fact, your lived experience is all made up as well because you're perceiving it all to be whatever it might be. You might go through a hardship and then that's now shaped the way you view other things in your life.
Yeah.
But if you didn't go through the hardship, then you wouldn't have shaped the things that you're viewing the way that you're viewing them. So all of it is perceived and everything is perceived, and we get in our own way a whole lot. And I think there's a problem in the culture where people feel silenced and they can't share their truth because they're scared of what people are going to think of them.
Have you been there before?
Well, no, which is why people don't like me because I actually share my truth.
But even when you're like, I loved your little carousels of like you back in the day when you were like partying or working in a bar and you're like long hair passed out of it. It's like, this is what I was, and now this is what I am.
Well, that gives context, and that actually makes me a human.
Yeah.
And relatable, and like you can look at me and say whatever you want. I don't care. But 2 years ago, I literally had nothing. When we met and I started my show, I had an audience, but I was in the dumps. I was in debt. I had nothing. And you can just look at what I've achieved. And I don't care if you think it's cocky or whatever it is, just look at it and just go, okay, like, yeah, he's done something here. And the problem with the silencing piece is there was a period in my life where I was more scared of sharing my thoughts because I was scared of what people are going to think and negative thoughts and all the thing. But the really thing that took me to the next level was having the courage to share them and thinking one thing and sharing that thing and not applying all of these filters before it left my mouth. And the reason that took me to the next level is because it removed this massive weight off my shoulders. Because if I don't fear what other people are going to think, I can actually share my truth. And the best part about social media is being able to have free speech and share what you feel is a positive impact on the world. You're not going to please everyone, but when you have the courage to do so, it's quite a freeing feeling because you're not going to rub everyone the right way, but the people you do rub the right way, they're going to really feel it and they're really going to change their life for the better based on what you said. And if you get in your own way, then you can't touch those people in the way that they need to be touched.
What was the moment that made you realize that that was okay, where you could take the weight off and there was like this freeing moment where it's like, okay, I'm going to share what I genuinely feel and not imply any filters? Was there a moment or was there a thought or was there a conversation that helped with that?
Yeah, when I had an army of Australian women come after me last year, like it just like was the most freeing, amazing thing that ever happened to me, ever. It was so great.
How so?
Well, when you get quote unquote cancelled, which you can't cancel greatness, respectfully, but when you get quote unquote cancelled, a beautiful thing about it is you receive a lot of messages. A lot of them aren't lovely, but you receive a lot of messages. And I was getting thousands of messages every day. Thousands. Lots of love, lots of hate. And the great thing about getting a message on Instagram is tied to the message is a profile of a person, of a life, of a way they live. And the beautiful thing about receiving thousands is you receive so much data of the people saying one thing and the people saying other things. So I could just remove myself fully from me and be like, I'm a beautiful mirror because there is way too many common similarities in the people saying one thing and the people saying another thing.
Did you find it was pretty divided?
Yeah, well, you would receive a message from a lady with a septum piercing and blue hair, and it would be a message saying to kill yourself. And then you receive a message from a wife that has an amazing family with 4 kids saying, thank you so much for your message and for standing up for it. I want that. I don't want that. And then when you see that over thousands of people, like you start to remove any sense of your worth or your validation or your meaning to the messages that people are saying. And rather you go, I've shared something, which by the way is an opinion. and it's been perceived in thousands of different ways. I had one intention, thousands of different interpretations of it, and then the amplification of different interpretations by influential people have now made other people perceive what I said in a way that someone else has interpreted it, and it becomes like a Chinese whisper thing, but online. So then when you receive it all, dude, it's the most freeing nature because I know what I meant and I know the intent behind it, and I know there was no malicious intent, and I know that my intention behind it is in service of the greater good, at least from what I perceive to be a better impact on the world. And there's so many different ways of perceiving it. So then I just go, it's actually not me. Like, people are blaming the mirror for what they see in it. And you got to have the courage to realize that you're looking in front of a mirror. In fact, that everything that we're doing is just a beautiful mirror. When you get mad at someone doing well in your line of work, you get mad at someone that's achieved the partner that they want. When you get mad at like the someone else that decided to take a leap in their life and you haven't yet taken the leap, like, you get mad. Do you think it's because they're taking a risk? No, it's because you haven't. And when you experience so much of that, it's so freeing. And you know that you've got that thing on your wrist, the Whoop. They were one of my sponsors before all that went down, and they dropped me, and alongside 5 brands dropped me in 4 days. And anyway, the Whoop that I had on my wrist during the week of the cancellation, my Whoop scores were higher than they've ever been in my whole life.
Positive. That is so interesting.
So during what was perceived to be the biggest storm, I was in the 90s every day. I'm never in the 90s. I don't even sleep enough. Like, I was, my central nervous system was so calm that I was getting deeper sleep and I was feeling more recovered during that week that it all went down.
Why do you think that is?
Because of a positive feedback loop. And this ties into why that was the most life-changing moment that was so freeing for me, was I was in a so-called perceived storm. It's all perceived. Everything's perceived. None of it's all real. We're in this weird material world that people think actually is serious, but none of it fucking matters. I was in a perceived storm and I felt calm. Calmer than I am not in the storm. So then I went, if I'm in what's perceived to be the biggest storm and I'm unfazed, can anything stop me? I feel unstoppable. Oh my goodness. It was a positive feedback loop. I was positively reinforced by my reaction to the bad time that now I had this belief that nothing can stop me. So then I just went, I'm doubling down.
Yeah. I remember when it was all unfolding and I could see it just like get blown like out into the media like crazy. And then I would look at all the things that you were saying and you were doubling down like crazy. and from a friend point of view, I was just like, I was wondering about first like how your mentor was. And I heard from a few of the boys, it's like, nah, Chris is sweet. He's kind of like brushed it off his back. But surely there would have to been times where, like, did you ever like question, like, have I done the right thing? Have I misconstrued my words? Should I say something to these types of people? Like, was there any moments of doubt throughout that time or was it all positive?
So there was no questioning of what I'd done. There was negative feelings of my character being portrayed online in a way that wasn't me.
You didn't like that?
So I never even questioned ever saying sorry or anything. Like we went on every single news article came out. Even the fucking Australian Financial Review wrote an article on me. And like, there's a whole conspiracy. I mean, we won't dive into it today, but I have a whole thing around how the whole thing could have been a whole setup. But that's another story for another day. But like, all these things came out and they all came out within days, and Laura was on them, interviewed on all of them, and I didn't get a single ask to be interviewed on any, like, the EMI. It was all like one-sided thing, I I didn't ever question what I said, hence why I doubled down. But what got to me in like 2 different occasions was when really influential people online that have so much pull started digging at my character in a way that wasn't me and projected it to their audience of people that love and trust them. Because now you've got a preconceived conception on who I am that's not me. For example, I went on a date last night. I met this girl at this coffee shop yesterday. We went and watched sunset that night. I don't like wasting time. And she was at Pilates before the class, and she was telling her friend at Pilates that she was going on this date with this guy that she just met that was really great and had a great experience with me at the coffee shop. We spent like 90 minutes talking and then went on a date that night. And the girl at Pilates was like, don't do that. You can't go meet with that guy. You got to learn more about him before you meet with that guy. And like, I'm like, okay, like that's fine. Like, sure, whatever. I don't care. But like, what did she elaborate? Like, what she told me about it. She was like, did she elaborate? Like, what's
She told you this at the date?
She told me this.
Interesting.
After like 4 hours of diving deep, and we're catching up again today. But like, that was the initiation of this woman that doesn't know anything about me, but saw something that got projected online from someone else.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't listen to a whole podcast of mine or doesn't know who I am. And of course, like the woman that had spent 90 minutes with me and then 4 hours walking on the beach and sitting down last night, like doesn't think that about me because she actually knows I'm not a dick. But like when a message gets put online that projects like ridiculous things, like I hate women, I'm like all these ridiculous things. I just go like I think women are babies, like all this stuff. I just go like, that's not actually me. And so I think initially that was the one thing that I had to do some work on, just thinking in silence and solitude, on just processing how I'm feeling about that stuff. But now none of that.
It's fine.
Like now I just like will comment. I mean, Laura and all that have blocked me now, but now I'll like comment. Like I used to like just comment on a video with like a clown emoji or something like this and just lean into it even more. Like I don't really care. It's like getting hate when you're sitting by a fire watching the sunrise in Malibu. It's very hard to like take it personally. It's not that deep.
Because I was thinking about it. If it was me in that situation. And I feel like if I had so many people who had this incredible influence over their audience and they were saying things about me that weren't true. I mean, when I was playing footy, I would see that all the time. I'd see a lot of guys who would get misportrayed in a way that just like wasn't them, or like how they played on the field was completely different to the type of person that they were off the field. They're actually a really nice, kind person with like really genuine intentions, but they might have done something or they might have said something or that is just completely blown out of proportion and it wasn't them. And so I looked at it and I was just like, well, if that was me and people were saying these things about me that wasn't true and that wasn't aligned with my character, it wasn't aligned the way I was brought up, I feel like that would have gotten to me. I feel, and then I would sit there, I was like, well, is this true? We did a podcast with Mac Horton. He's a Olympic gold medalist breaststroker, won the Olympics back in the day at Rio. And there was this time where he called another athlete a drug cheat. I don't know if you might have heard of this back in the day. It was like 2018. But he did the semi-final. There was kind of this blow up in the pool.
Drug cheat? A
drug cheat. I'm pretty sure he like originally had been spent some time on the sidelines for like performance enhancing drugs, right? And so we called him a drug cheat. He's like, I don't have any respect or any time for people who are a drug cheat. And anyway, he had the semi-final, and then in the grand final that night, he just got pumped in the media and he got slammed. And there was even times where he was saying on the podcast, he was just like, Keegs, I had to take a step. I was like, almost second guess myself. I was like, did I do the right thing? Questioning myself. And then what he did was he lent on those people who really know him. So his friends and his family, people who have similar values to him, kind of like, do you think I've done the right thing here? Like, is this out of character? And And they all said no. And what he realized was he's like, no, I'm really confident in the person that I am. I know who I am, and I know what I said, and I don't take it back. And that kind of gave him like this really nice settling feeling where it's just like, I actually don't have time for people who want to cheat and do these things. And so he was a lot more calmer with it. And so I can kind of see that with you, where you've said this, you're like, I have no regrets about it, if anything. And you look at what's happened now.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's
can't
switched
regret
everything.
it.
Yeah,
You can't regret it. But if I had dwelled in it or bent over and said sorry, then I probably wouldn't be where I am today, because that's all they're trying to get. Reaction, and then they move on. Like 2 weeks after, it was irrelevant. It's done. But just on that piece around the footy player saying, all he said was an opinion, and he said some facts. The guy did drugs, performance enhancing. You're not allowed to do it, right? Hunter says that shit all the time.
Yeah.
All the Hyrox people pumping peptides. It's like, he says it all the time. People don't like stuff that's real. People, have you ever noticed that the best jokes a comedian says are true?
Yeah, and they can hit really deep for that demographic of people who don't like it, right?
And the only reason they're allowed to say it is because they're a comedian. I feel like I'm going to start, if that's at this point, just saying I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
Because I know that all these comedians, they just say truth.
Yeah.
Like they say stuff, and it might be racist, it might be this, but like the average punter is thinking the thing.
Yeah.
But everyone's so scared to say it. The second thing on this is an athlete, a podcaster who's just working with brands, whatever it is, you're just a well-paid employee. Like they own you. Like I said something and I doubled down and I lost $30,000 a month in brand deals in 4 days. Does that show that I work for myself? Freedom of speech, speak from the soul, say what I want, do what I want? No, you're a well-paid employee. An athlete is a well-paid employee, respectfully. Like, it's a great career. It's awesome. And like you've achieved such great things, so much dedication to achieve what you achieve. Very commendable and honorable work that you do. But the reality is what? You can't say that I don't like people that do drugs when you're not allowed to do drugs in the rules of the sport, and then get cancelled, get a sponsor cut from you, have to sit on the sidelines for that. Like what? You're owned. They own you. Like and brands do as well. I literally got to America and I got new brand deals, and one of them said, we will not align. You can't interview that person. And I was like, I'm fascinated about the guy. Just stop invoicing you. Stop it. I was like, I just won't invoice you. Fine. Sure.
Because I am really curious around how, like you said, you lost 5 of your biggest partners.
All of them. Yeah.
So you went down to 0.
I went to 0, but like.
But surely, like with anyone who, I guess they're obviously spending so much money, surely they would have watched the clip, probably had a conversation with you, or did it just like, it wasn't perceived that well in the mainstream media, so they just didn't want to align with it? Like what was the conversation?
The clip, it was me doubling down. They didn't want to be in the heat. Yeah. So like when I hop on an Instagram story and call them cute and a clown, they don't want to get involved in that. And also like even when I picked up new brands for the first time in America, like I had Dream Recovery come on, and there was all these Australian trolls that don't even like have a profile picture and stuff that saw me announce a new sponsor for the first time a few months later. And Dream Recovery started getting spammed with DMs. I can't believe you would collab with them. I used to be a customer. I'm not anymore. I can't believe you would do this. You would align with someone like that. That's a horrible thing. All these people saying these things. And then the Dream Recovery guy calls me freaking out. And I'm like, just out of interest, like, can you see how many orders that those guys have made? The ones that said that they're your customers and they're never going again? Never ordered, ever. Yeah. And so, like, it's noise. It's all noise. And a brand doesn't want to deal with that. They've spent so long. I get it. Like, I get, like, business is business. I get it. Like, if you're a woke fitness brand that wants to play the game, like, you've got to be delicate with that stuff. And so I get it. I mean, the way some of them handled it, I don't respect. But I also get that if a company's ran by women and they hear a message from an influencer that's perceived a message I've said in a completely different way, and then they're offended by what someone else said that I said, and it rubs them in a way and reflects something back at them, and they're women that run the company, I understand when they're not going to want to play ball. And so I just get it. Like I never took any of it personally.
So how does that sit with you now, being we are well-paid employees? Like, I imagine that a big part of your income comes from sponsorships now. So how does that leave you now?
Don't have a single sponsorship.
So how do you fund this last 12 months traveling all around the world, doing these like incredible production podcasts? How do you fund that?
Education.
Okay.
So I'm onboarding a couple of sponsors this year. I'm being very delicate with it. I guess ultimately I don't love promoting other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Respectfully, after going through all of that and seeing how they treat me and realize that you can get done like this, and I want to play a game that I want to play my own race, and I want to speak my truth, and I don't have to question who I want to interview, what I have to say. I don't want to have to please anyone. Like, a big part about impact and making an impact on people's lives is that they've got to feel it, and you've got to mean it. And if you're trying to beat around the bush and filter all the things that you're saying and not speak from the heart, they don't feel it as much. A big reason why I've been able to grow so much is because when I say something, I mean it. And when I say something, people know I mean it. And the reason they know I mean it is because they don't agree with all of it. My favorite message I could ever receive is, Chris, I love your stuff, but I didn't love this, because it shows I'm being real to me. And so that same week that I lost all the brand deals, the same week, and this is like this sliding doors moments, and I believe that everything truly does happen for a reason. Like, I made $100,000 that same week outside of brand deals. So I'm getting a brand deal that cuts me, which is a contract that's, $8,000 a month for 12 months, and I'll get that cut instantly in an email. No phone call with the great relationship with them, and I'll get it cut. And then someone will pay me $15,000 the same day. Like, it's very hard to be affected. All you can do is laugh when that stuff happens. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Like, the job that you thought was going to be a forever job, but 3 months in you started hating, and you had the courage to leave it, and you're in that middle zone where you were transitioning, you didn't really know what you're going to do next, and you were in that very confused state. Like, that happened for a reason. Because then when you got the new job, you were so grateful that you left the old job, and you were in that time of uncertainty because you learnt more about what you wanted and what you didn't want. So then when you showed up in that interview, you landed the job because you were so sure it was the one you wanted. Like, the partner that you had the courage to leave because they were great but not great enough, but you knew something was off, and you had the courage to have that hard conversation and sit being alone afterwards. That time alone has now led you to be able to know more about who you are and who you're not. So then when you go out dating and meet new people, when you meet someone, and you have so much more certainty. Without leaving them, you would have been stuck in just good enough.
How do you find that spot though? Because I imagine there's been so many times I look at a lot of mates in the professional space where they're like, dude, I'm getting so much great cash here. Like, how do I leave this? I know I want to do something better, but it is just so good. How do you know where that line is?
Well, the cash doesn't matter.
Well, say if it's a relationship. I'm in a really good relationship, Chris, like, she's really great. She's really awesome. Like, we have a good time, but maybe the little things, like, she does these couple little things, but it's probably not that bad. How do you know where the line is? Or how do you know when to take that next step to move on from that relationship or that job or that thing?
And so you can think about all of these external things. You can compare your situation to everyone else's. You can think that, I've got it good because there's people starving in a third world country. You can do all of these fucking mental manipulation things in your own mind to trick yourself into your own situation. But you will know when something's off. And what happens is most men live their life as a coward. They know there's something off, and then they kick it down and they push it down. And they go, no, it's good. Oh, but it's good. But all of the good things are great. Like, so great. Yeah. Oh, how good. Yeah, but do you want good or do you want great? Like, what's the standard in your life? What do you want? And there's probably, you can probably strip this back like a few layers deeper, because like there's the surface level thing of like, yeah, it's good. Like, she's nice, she's attractive, she's kind, whatever. Like all these things that are very important in a partner or in a job or whatever it is. But if you strip it back a little bit deeper, I think it's actually a rooted problem of people don't know themselves. Because when you're so sure on who you are, you know when something's right or wrong. Like when you're so sure on the path you're on, you don't really compare yourself to other people. Like when you're blowing up on social media, you're not thinking, fuck, like these guys are crushing it. Like you're just so, like when you're going so fast, like you're not even, I realized this, I was just in Bali. And I realized that the faster you drive on the bike, the safer it is.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like,
Says that to someone who crashed in Bali.
so the faster you drive on the bike, the safer it is, because when you're slow, you're part of the problem. The roads are only dangerous because of the traffic. But when you're going fast, there's no one else driving at that speed, so there's no traffic.
Gotcha.
And so like you don't need to worry about merging when you're going fast because you're not going to hit anyone because no one's going that speed. So when you're moving so fast, you don't really have time to check the other lanes because you're too busy focused on what's ahead of you. You're too busy on making sure you don't hit anything in front of you. So you don't look at the things beside you. You don't glance around. You're tunnel vision. And so when you know what you want, which stems from knowing who you are, you don't have to live in this state of comparison. You don't have to try and copy people. You don't have to do any of this. You just have to be who you are. And now you don't want to be a bull in a china shop where you are making an absolute mess and you're being reckless. But that's not the analogy I'm trying to compare it to. I'm trying to compare it to a state of most people don't know who they are. So then they start making actions based on what they think is right, but it's not actually what they want. But then when they get in a state like that, they start questioning what they're doing, but they don't know why they're questioning what they're doing. So they trick themselves into thinking that it's actually okay. So then they just push down that thought that something's not right and keep pursuing the thing. And then they wonder why their head hits the pillow and they still feel a little bit empty.
I think that's probably the biggest question so many people would ask themselves is like, yeah, it's great, Chris, Keegan, like you guys have found your why. Like you know who you are. How do I find my why? Like, how do I find the thing that really lights me up and that I can put all my energy into and I'm not looking about people next to me. I'm just so dialed in. How do you think you find that thing or that why or our purpose here?
You know, earlier when I was saying about your couple of hours of learning time that you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's really great. I think learning is very powerful. It stimulates the mind. It allows you to interpret things that you learn and digest them in a way that you understand. And then as a podcaster, I think it's really important because then you've now learnt something new and now you can teach it and explain it to the people that are listening. So it's a great thing. But finding out who you are is not about learning. It's about unlearning. It's about unpacking what's already there.
Tell me more.
Well, we seem to think about who we are and we all of a sudden look externally. I want this house. I want this car. I want this body. I want this thing. I want this job. I want this career. Not going to be there when you die. You don't own any of that. The only thing you have is internal. And, you know, I'm throwing out this concept. I've got this little book of mine.
I love this little book, by the way.
And it's a little book and it can fit in my pocket. And my thought around it is like, I see those little monk books that like have profound wisdom, ancient wisdom in them and stuff. And they are in these little books that you can put in your pocket and you can like pull it out and read one page. It's so profound. And they've got books like The Daily Stoic and all of this stuff. And I love these books that are really profound. And when you have a small page, you've got to be careful with what you write because you can't fit very much on it. So every word means something. I've been pondering on this concept of time and if time is real. And I just spent 2 days with my phone turned off in the jungle, living in a tree house in a bud. And like this was one of the things coming to me because I didn't have any concept of time. My phones were turned off. I didn't know what the time was. And so I ate when I was hungry. I went to sleep when I wanted to go to sleep and I was tired. And I did a breath work whenever I felt it. And I drank water when I was thirsty. And I just listened to my body and the sun and nature. And it really got me thinking about time. And the reason I'm bringing up time when you're asking about the deep questions about life is because I think time is a beautiful tool to help you master the material world. But anything internal, fulfillment, purpose, meaning, peace, joy, have nothing to do with time. You can't schedule that shit in. Like, whether it's God, a higher power, a nature aspect that's far greater than anything the human mind can comprehend. And this is another reason why so many of these Australian influencers that don't have any relationship to any God or anything, like so many of their views are so shallow. And I'm not religious, but I feel a very pull to something greater, a creator or something good. All it takes is to walk down the street on an evening and look at all of the stars and lock eyes at a star, and that's bigger than the ones around it. But actually it's not bigger than the ones around it. It's just closer to us. And that star is bigger than the whole earth that we are on, and realize like how big this thing is. And you look at the sunset and go, how is that like that? And it's beautiful and it's a different picture every single day. Like, to think that humans created that is kidding yourself. There's something far greater, right? And so when you can connect to all of this, you realize that all these deep questions don't come from trying to master this material world and time block your way into things. It comes from creating space for magic, creating time in your life that has nothing to do with time, that is a thing where you can sit and see what comes up. When you look at all of the most moments in your life that you look back on and laugh, you didn't plan them. They happened when you were least expecting it. The partner that you met, you were not planning on meeting that person, right? Were you planning on having a baby on the way?
God, no.
Exactly,
No
right?
way, yeah.
Because you didn't plan for it. Whereas if you tried to schedule out and time block your whole love life and tried to make it, like, that's the most beautiful thing about love, is it's not logical. You can't explain the love, right? So if the most meaningful thing is something you can't explain, why are you trying to explain and time map everything out in your life to find fulfillment, peace, and joy? And so I wrote this thing, and let me find it. It's about time. And I'm still thawing this out because I do think time is real, but I think that the way we perceive time isn't. And the way we use time isn't. It's all man-made. Time isn't real. It's man-made. A beautiful tool to help you thrive in the 3D world, yet irrelevant when trying to access true fulfillment. Minutes turn into hours when you're not thinking about it. Hours turn into minutes when you are. Time can help you get the Ferrari, but it's irrelevant when realizing that you didn't even need it. You see, oftentimes we look externally in this material world for our worth, and it's fleeting because the more you obtain all these material things, the less value they have, right? Making your first $10,000 a month is way more freeing than making $100,000 a month, because the $10,000 a month unlocks most of the freedoms that you desire when you had no money. So that feels more than going up the ranks. So do you think you're going to feel this another level of boost when you hit $1 million a month? No, it diminishes the more you obtain it. So chasing things that diminish in value the more you obtain is a slippery slope downwards. So if you know that before even embarking on it, it's not about not embarking on the journey. You've got to embark on the journey to exhaust the desires that society places on us. But the moment that your worth is tied to things external is the moment that it's a slippery slope. You can chase the things. I like nice things. I like to have nice things, eat nice food, live in nice places, travel to nice things, and experience things, which require a lot of material success to do. But the moment that my worth is tied to it is the problem. And so in order to find things, we need to unlearn all of these things and create space in our life to actually invite the things in that matter. This is why shower thoughts are a thing, because you've finally had a moment in your day where you're not thinking about other things, right? And so if we can create more space in our life, we invite more meaning into our life, because we actually start to learn more about who we are.
So if I was the person who was looking to chase my thing or looking to find what I'm really supposed to be doing here, it's a matter of being still. It's a matter of giving yourself space to be able to, I guess, like really sit with your thoughts.
Yeah, well, most people can't even sit with their thoughts, and that's the first problem, right? And so they can say that they spend time in silence, but their silence has still got a book or a pen or a paper or anything. Like Oprah Winfrey, she spends the first minutes or hours in her morning, however long she needs, just sitting and thinking. It might be 5 minutes, it might be an hour, whatever she needs, but she just thinks. That's Oprah Winfrey, right? And it's very hard to arrive at a state where you can do that. It's very uncomfortable. And so the first step is overcoming that. And so that's a very hard thing to do. But yeah, I think when you do enough of that, you realize that none of this shit that we complain about actually matters. All of this stuff that we seem to think is so serious is not. And it's quite a freeing feeling because you get so clear on what matters for you. And then you get so confident in achieving that through pursuing the journey that then you have this state where you go, I can achieve anything. I'm not going to compromise anything, and I'm also not going to worry.
Yeah.
And that's the freeing thing.
We did a podcast yesterday with Dr. Megan Lee. She's like a positive psychologist. She was actually one of my lecturers at uni. Really, really clever girl in this space. And we were talking about almost like the rise of this like whimsical era, how there's a lot of like this next generation coming through. They're kind of like anti-phones, anti-technology, anti-AI, and they're moving back to kind of like what we grew up doing, you know, having misplaced or like mismatched cutlery and going to the farmers markets and putting your phone away and like knitting and doing pottery and like gardening's a really good one. And it's kind of similar to what you were saying before around, you have like your best thoughts in the shower. It's just like we've actually, when we can detach from our phones and detach from our screens and detach from all this influence and outside noise and actually be with ourselves, that's when like our greatest thoughts come. It's when we're most creative. It's when we can actually feel who we really are. Like I just got back from Japan a couple of weeks ago, and it's just been so busy. It's been like a crazy start to the year with baby coming, like doing the renovations to the house, trying to build the business. And I had to, like, I really wanted to do my garden. Like, I really love my garden. I've got some produce in there now, but I had to strip it all back. And I spent the whole weekend doing this. Didn't have my phone. I didn't have anything. I was like, had my chainsaw out. I was cutting up all this wood. And dude, not only the thoughts that were coming up, but also at the end of the day, when I was sitting there, had this like incredible feeling of like being content and being like really happy with my life. And it was almost like a sense of presence. I was like, the thing that would make me more happy than ever is sitting around in the fireplace with the wood that I had just cut up, using the limes that I just brought down from my tree with my friends and my family, sitting around this thing. And I wasn't thinking about, you know, buying a bigger house or how many downloads the podcast was getting. It was such like a wholesome thing. And this whole like rise of this like whimsical era, I think really strips back this whole fucking like polished version of what we should be like technically quote unquote striving for, and brings back to like what really matters, which is really just like being content with who we are and our friends and our family and this whole thing.
Yeah.
Throughout this last like 12 months, you've obviously been traveling so much, you've been doing so much. Does it ever get lonely? Do you ever feel like you're by yourself on this journey? And how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it does, but yeah, there's a difference between feeling lonely and being lonely, and loneliness. It's like, it's not the absence of people, it's the absence of connection, right? And so loneliness is not the absence of having people in your life, it's the absence of feeling connected.
Okay.
And so a lack of place in this room, because you can be in a room full of people and still feel isolated, right? So it proves it's not the people, it's the connection. If you look at the blue zones, have you heard of the blue zones?
Yeah.
Like, people that live past 100, like one of the key things, even though they're smoking cigarettes and drinking wine, is that they have community and connection, right? And so it does show great importance. But all of the things around the building the fire and the squeezing the limes that you picked from the tree and stuff, it's great. And I think having aspects of that to connect yourself back to what matters is really important. The question then begs, can you, and I know I'm dodging the question a little bit and changing something a little bit, but I'll go back to the loneliness piece. But the question then begs, can you do that forever for the rest of your life, all day, every day? And the answer might be no, right? And, this is a mental health podcast. And so I think it's valuable to bring up some statistics and studies. But have you heard the studies around the suicide notes in men? And so like the suicide rates in men are increasing a lot. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's very sad, right? You've experienced it with best friends, and it's a very tough thing to experience and go through. I can hear even every time you talk about your experiences and how deep they are to you. But there's studies that have shown the common themes in suicide notes. And there's two common words in the suicide notes of men. And it's that they feel useless and they feel worthless. And so the notes that they're writing before they end their life is that they feel useless and they feel worthless. They don't feel useful and they don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they have a place in this earth. So this is when it comes into feeling useful. Something you said before when we were training around how you found out that Emma was pregnant, you've never worked harder in your life. That's purpose, right? Having something to get up and strive towards, I feel men need, because you want to feel useful and worthy. You want to be able to go, like that gives you more fulfillment than most things. Like working your ass off and getting to the other end and going, I didn't need to sell the troopy. I didn't need to do this. I provided, I made all this up. I can now provide for my child, my partner. She doesn't have to stress because now she can really be a mum, which is what she really is so excited to do. And I can see it in her face every time she talks about being a mum. I can see how much her eyes light up. And I've been able to unlock that for her. That's purpose, right? Men are struggling because they don't know who they are and they lack meaning. And so while the messaging of building a garden and a fire is great, I think these things are so important. We still need something to strive towards that makes us feel useful. And so this is where this polarity comes in of going like trying to get clear on who you are, and whatever you choose to do as a man, like try and do it at the best you possibly can. Like that Robin Sharma guy, he said on the pod, he met a guy in the Johannesburg airport, and he was in the toilet, and he walked into the Johannesburg airport, and this guy like greeted him in the restroom. He's like, "Hello, brother, and welcome to Johannesburg Airport." And he was just going to use the urinal. Yeah. And this guy in there had some like deodorants and hand towels, and he was in the restroom, and he was so happy and stoked. And Robin walks in and he's like experiencing this thing. And he's not like driving a Ferrari or achieving all these fancy things that this material world and seems to trick us into thinking that we need. But he's trying to be the best at his job. He's been gifted the opportunity to work inside a toilet of an airport. And he's been presented with two options. I can dread on it and go, I can't believe this is my life. I'm in the toilets of an airport, meeting all these people that are traveling the world and going and experiencing all these places, and I'm here stuck cleaning up their shit. Or he can go, I'm in a season in my life where I've got to do this right now. At the very least, I can make it meaningful. All these people walking through the airport are in a rush. Maybe they're going to a place they don't want to go to. Maybe they've had to leave their family to go on a work trip, and they're worried about when they're going to see their family next. The very least, I can put a smile on their face in the last place they ever expected to leave a smile on their face. That's purpose. It doesn't need to be this big grand thing, but at the very least, if you're going to do something, fucking do it. Because what you'll find with that is when you show up in that way, whether it's being the best damn sweet streeper in the world, picking up garbage bins, or making millions of dollars, if you're going to do it, be the best, because what comes with that is challenge. Showing up in that toilet on the days you don't want to, but still going, I'm going to serve for these people. That's hard. And through the challenge is where you grow and build up a state in yourself where you go, I am worthy and I am useful.
Dude, I think there will be so many young, especially males sitting there in this world, even just like, not even young, just like any male, because being so drawn to that and being like, wow, there actually is something that I can take away and I can actually put energy into. Because forever, I feel like this whole reason for this podcast is around promoting positive mental health and positive well-being, and like, what are the actual tools that we can take away out into this world that is just going to make us better, more present, better dads, better partners, better just mates in general. And I always put having like a really strong connection and community at the top. I think physical activity and having a support network was always the two things. But what you're, I guess, kind of opening me up to now, maybe I've thought about it, but a little bit more subconsciously, was that purpose piece and having something that really lights you up. And it might be different for everyone. I used to always think, I always thought like footy was my purpose. And ever since starting the podcast, I love this more than any game of footy that I've ever played, because I feel like we can genuinely help people. And so I'm almost starting to think now, especially after you talking about it and articulating it so well, it's like I'd almost put that purpose and passion and fulfillment almost as the third piece of the puzzle. For me personally, that's just my thought. I think that piece of trying to figure out what your thing is so incredible.
And the reason I wouldn't hierarchy them is because they all complement each other, and one without the other doesn't make one of them full.
Yeah.
And I like to look at happiness as a bit of a trifecta of peace, joy, and fulfillment.
Okay.
Because if you're fulfilled in your work, but you have no peace in your life, then that's not going to be a very good life. Your life's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
If you have so much joy in your life, but you don't have something to strive towards and something that fulfills you, not only will you probably not have so much joy, but it's not going to be a very good life, because you're still going to think something's missing.
Yeah.
And connection's key, but if you're not showing up in the best version of yourself, which you access by having enough peace and having enough fulfillment, you're not going to be able to show up in those connections in the best way possible to then actually make the connections flourish. Have you ever had a mate that's struggling with a heartbreak and he's just not himself?
Yeah.
Have you ever had someone that's had really, really tough weeks at work and you catch up with him and he's just not himself? He's got no peace in his life, and so it's rubbing off on him. He's so stressed, he's so overworked, he's so overwhelmed that when you're trying to connect with him, brotherhood, connection, joy, it's not there. So one without the other isn't really meaningful. All of it in a beautiful balance is meaningful. But then I start to think about it and I go, okay, if I'm going to imagine my dream life, what does that look like? Well, my dream life on an average Tuesday would have components of all of them. It's cool to like look at your weekend time off after you've worked a job you've hated for the whole week, but what does your average Tuesday look like?
Yeah.
Let's get clear on that. And for me, I want peace, I want joy, and I want fulfillment. So if I look at that, I want to analyze my life and go, I want to build a life around that. So for me, I get up quite early. When I'm in my routine in Malibu, I get up at 4 a.m. and I don't book anything in till 8 a.m. I turn my phone off. For the first 4 hours in the dark, I sit, I think, I read, I write. Now, the reason I do that is because that unlocks a level of peace in my life. I'm showing up for me first. Before every podcast I do a breath work, even if it's a solo one. And the reason I do that is because that's showing up for me before showing up to the millions of people around the world. And the only reason I can get to millions of people around the world is to be showing up for myself so much that I know who I am, that I speak from the heart, so that when people hear it, they feel it and feel called to like, share, engage, comment. And then it grows to the millions of people around the world. So even if you don't have a million people watching, you still need to show up in that way. So the morning unlocks this peace because I get up in the silence where there's no distractions and I actually think. After I've done that, I've showed up for me and I've unlocked a level of peace. I walk out, I turn my fireplace on, I watch the sunrise a couple hours after I've woken up, and I sit there, I think, I might read, I might do nothing. Who knows what I'll do? It changes from time to time. I'm showing up for me. Then I might go and train. I'm showing up for me again. I'm building my life. I'm being fit and healthy. I'm putting health at the forefront of this. After I've done all of that, I've already won my day. The rest is a bonus. So I'm showing up in that way. Then the next thing, fulfillment. Okay, I now want to serve because I know that when I have someone stop me on the street that says I've saved their life, that fills my cup more than any money I've ever made, anything I do. So I need to serve as part of my dream day because that gives me more fulfillment than most things. So impact. Okay, the only way I can do impact is by showing up for me so I can show up in the best version of myself. Then I think can go and film a podcast, create some content, respond to messages, whatever it might be. I'm showing up in the fullest version of myself because I've shown up for me. That has then unlocked fulfillment. And then after I've unlocked peace and I've unlocked fulfillment, then I get to show up for the people around me in the fullest version of myself, which unlocks connection, which deep connection with a few people is what unlocks the joy in my life. Because I think connection with others is the key to my emotional well-being and happiness. I think I need connection above all. But if I'm not healthy and I'm not spiritually aligned and I've not fulfilled my purpose and mission, then it's going to be very hard to fully connect with people in that way. And so if we can find this trifecta and try and build a life around that and realize that it actually is possible, we don't need to sacrifice. We can achieve that. We just need to have the courage to take the steps. That's a dream life. That's what excites me. That's what will get me out of bed. That, as a single man, is what will attract the dream mother to my children. That, as a person that's striving for external success but doesn't define himself by it, is what will make me make money, achieve the success that I want, and be able to thrive in this material world and have the freedom in that realm as well. And so by being that person and being selfish, but then also selfless because I'm serving as well, I'm filling up my cup in a way that allows me to pour into everything that in my mind matters most, which then unlocks this overarching thing of meaning, fulfillment, and a life that I truly want. And so I don't really like the hierarchy. I like to look at it as a piece of the puzzle and realize that I actually need to tick all of them and access that. And it's like a key. That's why if you look at like a mentor, right, in your life, like I think there's a very big difference between coach and a mentor, because a mentor for me, like I can't respect someone fully and treat them as a mentor unless they've mastered all their areas of life. Like if you're like people don't like this, but if you're fat and you're trying to tell me lessons about life, like your priorities are so skewed, dude. And I don't really care about your aspect of life because you don't even prioritize your health. You've got one of these meat suits. And so like, for me, I go like, I'm not one of these ones that just wants to achieve some narrow-ended one-line success. Like if you've got $1 billion, but you're in a hospital's bed, none of it matters. So you need to tick all the boxes. So for me, I'm trying to make my decisions in a way that doesn't sacrifice all of the main things that I think matters in life.
There's so many questions that I want to pick out of that, dude. I feel like I want to pick apart. I want to talk through more like the learning and your morning. I really want to learn more about the like your writing piece and your process for that, being a good partner or attracting the person that you really want to talk about that as well. But I think before those two, I kind of want to talk about the relationship with fitness and life. Do you think that fitness comes before building a business, or do you think you really need to dial in before fitness comes, or do you think they go hand in hand? And by fitness, I mean looking after our body the way you do, the way you eat really well, you train really well. Like I've heard a few people talk about this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think trying to be respectful from a
When
what
have
my
you,
thoughts are and
when
what I
have
actually
you,
want to say.
when have you ever took a step back from being respectful?
Well, I would
Not
say
respectful,
that, I
but
would say
like, you
that
know what I
everything
mean?
I say is respectful, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's just truth and hard to hear. My version of truth. But I would say, okay, let's go there. Fuck it. I would say that you mentioned balancing the business and career and health. I would say that as a man, specifically, and for everyone in the world, but I would say more specifically as a man, if you get jacked and make a boatload of money, most of your problems will be solved. Because both of those things are very hard. And you learn a lot about yourself when you get jacked and make a lot of money.
So what you're saying is like, it's not the surface level of being jacked and having a lot of money. It's all the things that you learn along the way. Because I imagine someone would take that thing and be like straight on the bandwagon of like, fuck you, Chris, you're like looking for a good, but it's actually a layer deeper than that.
Yeah,
if the learnings
I'm just
along the
being
way.
real. And the only reason I say it is because it happened to me. And you learn a lot about yourself when it's 4 a.m. and you've got a really, really hard meeting today that you've got to prepare for in the business that you've been trying to build, and it's failing, and you've got to let off one of your main team members because you actually can't payroll, and you've had to pull out a loan to pay this month's salary for them, and you know that next month, like, I'm not going to be able to get any more credit, so I probably should let him go and try and figure this out. Like, when you've got that conversation to have at 10 a.m., don't worry, you're not sleeping much the night before. You learn a lot about yourself. And then having the courage to then have that conversation. And after you finish that conversation, not only are you worried about what their livelihood and their family are going to do off the back of this, but you're also worried about, okay, this business and this baby that I've been going all in on now has one less team member, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to keep not only keeping this thing alive, but growing this thing because it's all I want to do. You learn a lot about yourself in that time. And as a man, if you don't go through that, you don't get a stripe on yourself that gives you confidence, that gives you trust in the process and where you're going to be. And you don't have context. You know when I said earlier about how my Whoop scores were through the roof? I don't think it was because of that one moment. I think it was because of the time when I was 18 years old and we had raised all this money for this software company we were building, and it failed. And I had to walk into the boardroom of the investors and tell them that we're hanging up the boots. I don't think I had a good Whoop score in that time when I was getting all of this hate because of that week. It was that time when the girl I never even thought existed broke my heart, and I didn't really know what was going to happen. So then I booked a solo sabbatical to Thailand and rode around a moped and drank coconuts with no plan on what I was going to do, but I was extremely lost. And I don't think that it was that time that made me have the high Whoop score when I was getting so-called cancelled. I think it was all of the hard times that I went through. And the only reason I went through those hard times is because I wanted to get jacked and I wanted to make money. And during the pursuit of getting jacked and making money, I learned more about myself and attracted partners that I thought were the dream partners, and then get broken in the process of that as well, which then in turn, when you're heartbroken, all you want to do is get jacked and make a whole lot of money to level up yourself. And during the process of that, if you look within and you're self-reflective, you can learn and grow and keep leveling up. But the pursuit's still clear. Not to mention when you achieve the outcome, how you feel and the spring you have in your step when you have a lot of money and that you're jacked is one that I wish everyone could feel, because it's very, very freeing. The only reason I could go through the cancellation and lose all of the brand deals was because I knew I was good financially as well. I didn't care about losing the money because I had other money, right? If I had no money, I probably would have, who knows, caved and said sorry and bent over and let them, you know. And so there's a lot of pillars to that. But I think to answer your question around what one's more important, I think they're actually not only important, but they're our duty. And I think, what's the point of living otherwise? I don't care if you have $1 billion if you're fat. Fix your health. I don't care if you're jacked, but you're constantly complaining about fuel. I got back here and everyone's complaining about fuel prices and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, get over yourself. Make more money, respectfully. Like, I don't care if you're jacked, but you're constantly stressed about how you're going to keep a roof over your head. I'm not disregarding the fact of how hard cost of living crisis and how hard things are getting and how expensive things are. I'm not disregarding that. And I'm not disregarding how hard it is. it's tough. It's a hard world right now. Like things are booming like this and income's not booming like this.
Yeah.
It's becoming harder. It's not impossible. And so like, while I understand it's hard, I also be a little bit real and go, there are people that drive Ferraris, which shows that you can make the money. And so what are you going to do? Sit here and dwell about the position that we're in, that it's fundamentally a lot harder nowadays? Or are you going to look at the cards you've been dealt and go, let's at least figure out if I can pull a big straw out of this group of small ones?
Well, it's the same thing. Like I look at the people who I look up to and who are mentors and role models in my life, and none of them are trust fund babies or have just been giving to everything to them on a silver platter. They've gone through incredibly hard things. Like one of the guys who I probably look up to the most, like, owns this incredible vet practice. He's one of the most incredible, most renowned like adventurers in the world. He has this like beautiful family. His kids are like really like just wise and kind people. He's got the most beautiful relationship with his wife. He ticks all the boxes and the pillars that we're talking about. But there has been so many incredible times where he's been in the thick of it. We did a podcast with him out in like the backcountry of Thredbo, which was like one of the most visually beautiful podcasts we've ever done. Not to your standard, but to our standard, it was incredible. But the learnings that I got from him was just like, mate, there's been so many times where I should be dead, or the business should have failed, or my relationship was on the rocks, and he's worked through all of them to being like now a 50-year-old man where he's got all these almost like battle scars, but he can walk into a tough conversation with someone and feel very at home, peaceful, calmful. No, it's going to be a tough conversation, but he can work through it, and they're the people that I respect. I know make a lot of money and get shredded it's a great like almost like clickbait title, but it's everything that comes beneath that I think is really important.
It's everything, but sometimes you need the title for people to actually even hear the message.
For sure.
And like seeing it for how it is. But let's just touch on this for a second. You're explaining this guy that you look up to that's gone through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And none of your mentors are trust fund babies. I wonder why that is. Is it because of the thing, or is it because of what it took to get there? What does the journey from A to B do? It makes you feel worthy and useful. You become useful when you go from A to B, because now you can help people that are stuck in A right now. You become useful when you overcome challenge, because there's so many other people that are in the same spot screaming for your help. Common thing in suicide notes: useless, worthless. Go through more shit, you will become useful and worthy.
Do you think that you elect to put yourselves in those really tough positions? Like, when people say like hard things is really good. I want to put myself in an ultra marathon. I want to start a new business. I want to do these things. Do you personally elect to do those things because you know you're going to be a better person at the end of it?
Well, buying something where the price outweighs the prize is just stupid. And what I mean by this is most people are running races where the cost to enter the race isn't worth the reward of finishing it.
What do you mean?
So they're climbing a mountain that's extremely hard to climb where the view isn't very good. So they're putting themselves through pain that doesn't even have potential for a great outcome. And this is why, a lot of athletes, I struggle to resonate with their view, because what the fuck are you getting from all this shit?
Yeah.
Like, at least in business, it's hard, but you're going to set up your life for your family. And so realizing the price tag in which you're paying and understanding if you want the outcome of that, and if the price tag is worth the thing. Like, you go into a shop, into Pack Fair, and you go and buy something in a store. Your process in that store is, if you're looking at prices and you're considering money, your process is, that's a pair of shorts is $50. I like the shorts. I think they're going to be great. I'm going to get good use of them. I'm going to buy them. But most people walk through their life and they walk into a Lululemon shop and the price tag of those shorts is $1,000, and they know that and they still buy it. It's not even Gucci where they get the clout from it. They just spend all this money, but in the reference of money, it's effort, energy, hard times, challenge, pain, uncertainty, doubt. For what? And so I guess to loop this in around, do you self-inflict the pain, right? I used to say, if you're not getting presented with enough challenge, self-inflict the challenge. But now what I would say is try. It's not about going through pain. It's just about trying. And when I say trying, I mean when you have a thought about doing something or you have a desire in your life, do it. Because a lot of the time these desires have uncertainty. The desires are not paths that are walked all the time. And what happens is when you do that, you're taking a risk. And when you take risks, sometimes they fail. When they fail, you go through hard times inevitably. So it's not about self-inflicting pain. It's just about trying. Stop being a little bitch and actually trying the things that you want to do. And when you try enough times at things that your soul actually want you to do, most of the time they're hard. So if you just remove yourself of going through pain, because when you have that thought, it's like, well, I don't want to go through pain. But if you tie yourself to actually just giving things that you want to do a crack, you're going to fail, you're going to go through hard times, and a byproduct of just trying is you'll grow. This is why when people come to me all the time and like they're extremely naive, and I've lived what they're living and I know that what they're about to embark on is extremely fucked and it's actually not even worth what they're going through, but they really want to do it. I don't tell them not to do it because I know how much I grew from that time. So I just go, dude, if you feel called to do it, do it. But just make sure you give it your absolute all. And then they'll get a couple of years down the line and they'll be like, that was fucked, but I'm a better man for it. No results, work, no results, but I'm a little bit better.
Comes back to that whole thing of like, you just have to go through the pain to be able to get to be the person you want to be.
Yeah, but if you just fixate yourself on the pain, it's going to be very hard to do it because you don't want to go through pain. But if you fixate yourself on the pursuit and the goal and the reason you're doing it, a byproduct will just be pain. But you'll be driven by something that you actually want, which is the reward.
I think there'd be a lot of people who have that idea of what they want to do, but they're like too scared to take that step. They might have a family, they might have outside things that they just need to do, right? And they're like, well, I can't put my family in this position. Like now that I've got a baby on the way, I don't know if I would have taken the leap of jumping into a podcast full time with all the additional financial. I just don't think I would do that. I did that when, 3-4 years ago when I was just me solo running around. I was just like, I could sleep in the back of my car if I really needed to. But now you've got these external pressures where I don't know if I would put my partner and my baby in that position. It's so hard. Well, what would you say to that person who is like, man, I really want to do that thing, but I've just got so much more responsibility. What do you say?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
What a coward. Yeah. What a coward. Like what do you mean? Like settling for a subpar version of the life you dream is a coward act. That's what I wrote in that book.
But you're putting your people that you love at risk.
Isn't it so great how much of a mission you have to achieve now that there's a little one on the way?
Yeah, that's true.
If you need to look after them, brother, you will make it work.
Yeah.
Every single successful person that I speak to, the one thing that's common in them, they say, I wish I had kids earlier.
Really?
When you meet the upper echelon people, they go, I wish I had kids earlier. They're the greatest thing that's ever happened in my whole life.
For that exact reason?
Well, they say every single minute I'm away from them, I know I'm away from them. So I show up in a way not like I ever have before. If I'm traveling for a business meeting and the deal doesn't get done, or the guy that I'm trying to negotiate with is wasting my time. I had Andy Elliott on the show, quite a controversial guy. He flew to sell some of these cars, this thing when he was in car sales. And he was like working with this car dealer to help them grow their car sales. And he flew to a different city and he had 2 young kids at the time and his wife. And he flew to this city and he hated leaving his kids. He said it ate up at him so much. He hated it. And he sat down at this boardroom in this office of this car dealership with the principal of the car dealership that owned like 4 different dealers in the similar street. And this guy was mucking him around and messing him around and being like, oh, we'll think about it. Oh, we're going to meet with other people, all of this stuff. And Andy just looks at him dead in the face and goes, you realize that I left my 2 kids and my wife at home by themselves to come to this meeting. I'm not here to waste time. Like you are messing me around right now. Are we doing the deal or not? If he didn't have kids, he probably just would have been like, all good.
Yeah.
Then the guy kept messing him around. He's like, I'm not joking. He's like, here's what we're going to do. We do the deal. And if we don't, that's okay. But I'm going to go walking down the street now to every one of your competitors and work for them for free and crush them and make them absolutely blow up their business so you run out of business if we don't do the deal. You know my skills. You know I can do it. Here's what we've done for the past. Are we doing it or not? Or I'm going to go do that right now. And he just did this, and he's taken it to extreme, and he takes it to extremes. But if you take this lesson and you apply it, you realize that when you have kids, and I don't have kids, and I'm a naive 24-year-old boy that doesn't know anything about life, but I'm figuring it out. But when you don't have kids, you don't have anyone that relies on you. All of a sudden, you've got purpose. Dude, money is not real. Like, everything's made up. All value is perceived. I can literally have the exact same offer. I can charge $1,000 or I can charge $25,000. Based on the conviction I have and the conviction that the person buying it has, that what they're paying is going to get them the outcome that they want, and they have the money and it means enough to them, whether I present it to them at 1,000 or 25, they will pay it. It's the exact same thing. So does that show you that it's the thing? Or does that show you that money is an energy? And money is literally a transactional commodity that people are transacting for a specific outcome. They want a certain thing, and you're presenting the thing you have and a price tag, and they are weighing up if the price tag is worth the thing. So all of it's perceived. If you want to make money, you can make money. The person that's in your way is not what you have, it's how you're viewing what you have. When you have kids, you value your time more. If you're selling your time, you're going to show up with so much conviction in selling your time because you know how valuable it is. I've spoken to so many people that have had kids, and they, like, the ones that succeed are the ones that have skyrocketed once they've had kids. The ones that have started downward spiraling in their fulfillment in their life is when they live in that lens of, I have kids, they're depending on me, I can't take risks. No, have kids, take more risks and conquer and win. And you become useful, you become worthy, and you become a man you're proud of. And guess what? If you're looking at your dad and you're looking up to him, you know, one of the biggest motivators I have is when my son gets asked the question, who's your biggest role model? I want him to say his father. It means so much to me. Do you think that my son, when he's looking up to me, do you think he's going to say that I'm his biggest role model when he's taking the safe bet, not being excited about what he's doing, not giving life a red hot crack? Or do you think my son is going to look up to my dad, conquering, striving, achieving, providing for his family, being present with me and being happy and joyful because of all the work he's done in himself? And he can then be there for his son and his daughters and his family and give them the life that they really want and they deserve. Like, which dad is the son going to be proud of?
Yeah, dude.
Be that dad. Like, be that now. And I just think that, dude, like, fuck, man, like, we're all going to fucking die and none of it's going to matter. But you're going to be sitting there and you're just going to be thinking about your life and all the shit that you didn't do. What's the point of all the money? What's the point of all this bullshit if you're not even going to act on the things that you truly want to do? I don't get it. And I can't take you seriously if you're not going to either.
Dude, imagine when you have kids, bro.
Dude, I'm stoked. I'm so ready.
Dude, I look at the way you're operating now and the way how like amped up and energetic you get about having kids and how it like pushes us to be in this space of just fucking going for it. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I was like, I wonder what level you're going to get on when you have kids.
Bro, I want to spend as much waking hours I can with my kids. I want to give my wife the dream, and whatever that is for her, I want her to feel empowered to be able to do whatever she pleases, and to make her decisions on passion, desire. She wants to start that business, go start it. But the moment it just adds more stress into your life, I don't want that. So people seem to get confused about that message. It was the message that I shared that got so much hate was filled with so much love. All I want to do is work my ass off to give my partner the freedom of choice to make her decisions on passion and desire, not survival and need. And when she can do that, she can be the best mum, and she can show it with passion and joy, which is the thing that lights me up and inspires me. Like, whenever I've just been in like quite a serious relationship, and when she came home and she was so passionate and inspired and had a smile on her face about what she wanted with life, bro, that motivated me so much.
It's infectious, hey?
Dude, when you see a woman that you're so attracted to, that you're so in love with, that lights up with whatever it was, do not care what it was. But when you see her light up, bro, I want to level up.
Yeah, dude.
Like, that pushes me. And then like I see my friends that have had kids, and my friends that have worked their ass off to be able to attract their dream mother to their children. So they've got a gorgeous wife. So then they've got gorgeous kids. And you look at this gorgeous kid with bright blue eyes, and like, dude, you look at that life that they have, and you get to be with that and raise that and try your best. And you don't really know how to parent, but you're going to just try your best and navigate it. And you get to like do that. Like, talk about purpose and fulfillment, man.
Do you think this is probably the driver and one of the biggest motivators on why you're going for it so hard now?
Yeah, I think it's actually deep down the biggest driver for most men. And, you know, like, I say things that I feel, and, you know, you might label them as like a clickbaity thing or whatever. Like, there's so many that come to my mind that want to slip out in this context right now, and I'm just like trying to refrain from it. But frankly, like, without women, there's no way I would drive and strive and do the things that I would want to do. Like, I truly think that if a man was stripped of the opportunity to build a family with a partner that they dream, like, would we really, I'd just fucking sleep in the car and surf and like chill the fuck out. Like, I just probably wouldn't. But like, I know that all of the things that I've built up in my life that are attracting the women in my life that I really respect, and, you know, that are going to attract the dream mother to my children, have all been ones that I've earned. And they've all been ones that have came off the back of hard things. And not just hard things of getting your hands bloody, but hard as in even just sitting in silence for a day in the jungle. That's hard. You know, working on yourself, being self-reflective, having the courage to be wrong, doing a pursuit that's really hard, trying to be the best at the pursuit, that is really hard. Like, all of these things level you up, and it truly fills you with a feeling of being useful and worthy, which is the opposite of what they find in suicide notes. And that means that you love your life, which is the opposite of wanting to end your life, right? And so if we just look at that and we go, okay, like, that's what we need to love our life. Why should we sacrifice for anything? Like, we've only got one of them, then maybe we should probably focus on doing that. Like, maybe that is what it's all about. And then when you feel that, then you get put in the low, and all you do is you smile and you feel comfortable in the low, because you know it's going to make you a better person. And if you don't feel that, you haven't been through enough lows. And that's why I'm so passionate about this message, because like, I just know that I came from nothing, and I just went through so much and I tried so much. And that's what's built me up into, frankly, someone who I'm proud of. And that's why I try and share that to everyone else.
I can hear it in your voice, dude.
Yeah.
I can feel the energy. I can feel how like passionate you are about these things. And I think it's really beautiful that everything that you're doing now is for this lucky girl that's going to be coming into your life whenever that comes. And I think the kids that are going to come off the back of that, having a dad like you who is just so motivated and just wants what's best for them, I think is probably going to be the most beautiful thing. You mentioned that it was very similar around like the working hard, making money, being jacked, doing all those things, about attracting the type of woman that you want. Tell me about how it works from your point of view, being the male in that sense. Is there a certain type of traits from a woman, like from the woman's point of view, that you're looking for? Like you talk about someone who can be so infectiously energetic about their thing and what they're really passionate about. Is that something that you look for in a woman?
Yeah.
Is that the main thing, or is there a few things? Is there a checklist, or is it just like a feeling? Like how do you think you'll know when that is?
I'm still trying to navigate it, hence why I'm single. I've just got out of a relationship that I thought was really, really good, and so I'm still trying to learn a lot about what I like and what I don't like. But I'm trying to be very delicate with my view here. But fuck it. What I'm wrestling with is, I think that the world is a bit evil, and I think it's confusing, especially in Australia. And I think the media is confusing women on what they think they should do and confusing men on how they think they should be. And it's resulting in loneliness and singleness. I think there's a stat, something like 50% of men haven't had sex in the last year, something crazy. It's messed up. And the more people live in that system, the less interested I am in them. And so I've either got to meet a partner that has gone through it and made it out the other end, and has surrendered to what she actually wants, not what people are deeming to be successful as a woman. And she needs to have either overcame that. I need to either have patience for her to unlearn all of that and meet her in that period, or find someone that hasn't yet been exposed, which means younger, frankly. And so then the next thing I ponder on, and this is all like really rogue stuff that Australian audience won't love, especially being there's not much religion in Australia. But the next thing to that is like, if I'm with it's very hard to get along with women younger than me. I'm 24. If I'm with a woman that's younger than me, like it's so immature. I had to grow up so early, and it's very hard to get along with someone. I feel like I'm just chatting to some surface level girl that's gorgeous but has nothing else. Yeah. And I've unlocked a new realization that Christian women are not the same. Christian women are more mature from a young age because they've been pondering the thought of life and what it means from a very young age. And true Christians dive into deep questions about life from a young age. And I just found myself meeting Christians, and they're younger and they're so mature. And I went, what's going on here? Yeah. But then the problem with that is like Christian women want Christian men. So then I'm in this little bit of a pool where I'm actually just really exploring dating with the most open mind. And I'm just seeking to understand more about women to get clear. I'm just so ready for that person, but I guess like I want a woman that can be very reflective and be willing to learn more about herself, not manufacture stories about herself that trick her into thinking she's someone that she's not. And I think when a woman can actually really lean into that, there's exceptions to the rule, but I think when a woman can actually really lean into that, relationships will thrive because she'll really lean into her feminine. And that's the thing that men really want for the most part. They want a woman that actually makes them feel like a man. And they want we don't want another man. I don't. I want a woman. And that's a desire. I don't think that's a controversial take. I want a woman. I don't want a man. I want to be the man. I desire. So if we even tie into this ability of being useful and worthy, you try and take away all of the responsibility. A man is gifted when meeting a woman. The responsibility is a gift, and we want that. We're designed for that. If you take that away, there's going to be something that feels empty in the man. Like men, biologically, we want women. And so I want a woman, and I want a woman to feel safe in being a woman. And frankly, I think that it's very confusing in the dating world because women can't put trust in men because there's too many weak men. That's a story for another day, but there's too many weak men that are then making it very hard for women to put trust in it. So the more women are going through life dating men, they just lack faith in men because all the men are just being weak and like really like they're not even opening the door or buying the meal or whatever, right? And then not to mention on top of that, women are making more money in the workforce than men, but women want men making more money. So then there's like this really confusion in the dating scene. So like the longer they pursue in that system, the less faith they have in finding someone, the more even women are running out of time to even have a family. So then instead of trying to put faith in something they have no faith in, they just trick themselves that they don't want kids, they don't want a family, and they want a business. And then next minute they get to 45 and there's still something missing, but they can't even have kids at that point. So then they just even rule it out. And then that's when people start hating me. And so like there's exceptions to the rule, and there's women that genuinely don't want a family and they don't want that, and that's fine. But for me, I want a family, and I want a woman that wants to be a mum, and I want a woman that feels safe in that and that has trust in our connection, and I want to give her the world. I really do. And that's why I'm working so hard to do that. And so I'm still navigating what that looks like. But from the experts that I've spoken to, there is a deep-rooted feeling that you do know. Hence why, like, even your thing went so quickly. It's like you get to a point where I feel like you do know. I'm just trusting in that process.
I think you will. I think you will just know. I can only speak from personal experience, and to be honest, like we talked about before, was not looking for a girl at all. I was engaged. I was very much in a long-term thing. Went out for a couple of years, and I was like, I might meet my chick when I'm like 40. I don't have any biological clock. I'm very much happy to cruise. And then this girl walks into my life, and from the very first day, I was like, there is 100% something here. And then after like 3 dates, I was like, do you want to go camping at Crescent Head for, 2 weeks? And she just like, yeah, sure. And we didn't leave each other's side by then. And I think that there is so many, I think it's a feeling. It's like we can articulate like, oh, like, how do you know? Like when you know, like, how do you know? I don't know if you can articulate it. I genuinely think it's a feeling. I love the feeling of being the man in the relationship and being in my masculine, and same as my partner. She loves feeling like she's nurtured and she's feminine, and she can be in that little space and do her pottery and her gardening and all the things that make her, and she can't wait to be a mum, dude. Yeah. Like when we found out, and now we're obviously a little while away, like maybe we're like 6 months away from having our first little kid, dude. It is the most special thing. And I personally think it's just like, when you know, you can't articulate it. It's just like, it's this little feeling inside of you. And it is the most beautiful thing in the world, I think.
Well, that's the thing about love. You can't explain it, which is what's so great about it. And that's what's so great about everything that's so great. is you actually can't explain it. This is the problem with philosophy and trying to explain everything with logic is like you're stripping away the meaning. This is why you can't try and explain spirituality and fully understand it. Like you can learn more about it. Like you can learn more about God and Jesus and all this stuff, but like the point in which you know is when you start to have a relationship with that. And when you're in relationship with that, then you feel connected and you form a deep love with that person or that thing or whatever it is, right? And that's the same with love. And you know, I had an interesting experience. I really loved this girl that I was with. I'd never felt like this.
The one you were telling me about this morning.
The first day I met her, I ran into her, was least expecting it, in Austin. I was there doing a production. She was visiting there. She lived in Atlanta. I lived in Malibu. It's just in Austin doing a production. And I was going back to my Airbnb and I was like, I'm just going to stop at this health food shop it's like a smoothie shop, to get a little energy Alexa thing before I dive in. I had like 4 hours of work I had to smash out at home. I was like, I'm just going to stop in at the smoothie shop, stop in, get the thing out of the fridge. I walk out and she stands up, compliments my shoes. 4 hours later, we've been sat down chatting at this thing, and then we go and go for a walk, and then we like...
You lost the work.
We spend the whole day. Didn't matter. Fuck the work. Spent the whole day with this girl. I remember instantly, I was like, I think I'm in love with this girl.
Straight away.
I think I'm in love with this girl. And then it was crazy. And she had a boyfriend at the time. She was with her friends when she stopped, like when she was with her friends. And so so this whole day I was not touching her, going near her or anything, just respecting the fact she had a boyfriend. And later that night we went to dinner, and there was 4 of us, 3 girls and me. I was here, she was there, and the other 2 were opposite. And like there was this connection like no other. It was crazy, dude. You should be like staring down my soul, and like I couldn't talk. I'd like lose my thought. Like, and she didn't even know she was staring down it was crazy. Yeah. And for the first moment I got just with her was the 2 other girls went to the restroom in the restaurant. It was at my favorite restaurant in Austin, The Well. And it was the first moment of the whole day that I got with her, just one-on-one. And I look at her straight away and I just go, I don't think we can be just friends. The first words I said. And she thought like she didn't get it straight away, but I was like we can't be just friends. Like there's too much like I've never felt this way ever in my life, I'll be honest. And I won't lie, you're not acting like you have a boyfriend. You're looking down my soul. And she's like, I don't even know how to act. And like, anyway, this whole thing happened. We went for a run the next morning, and then she was going back. I was doing this production. She was going back to Atlanta. I gave her a hug and I said, look, I'm traveling for the next 6 weeks, going back to Australia. I'm doing all this stuff. I get back in 6 weeks' time. If you don't have a boyfriend, call me. So I said, I'm not touching her if she has a boyfriend. But straight away I was like, that guy's done. Sorry, dude. Like, respectfully, like I'm so confident in who I am, and I just knew that poor guy. I was like, poor guy, he's done. Like she was not in that. Anyway, the next day she leaves, and I woke up in that morning and I just felt so convicted. I was like, I've got a free week next week after Nashville. I was in Austin, then I had Nashville, and then I had a free week before going back to LA. It's like, she's going to invite me to Atlanta next week. I just was like, I woke up the next day, I was like, she's going to invite me to Atlanta next week. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to book a flight. Didn't tell her. The next day after meeting her, I book a flight to Atlanta for the following Wednesday. From Nashville to Atlanta. And I just booked it the next day. That was a Monday. The weekend came. I get a random message from her on the weekend. She goes, do you want to come to Atlanta next week?
That's so weird, dude.
I just knew.
Yeah.
And then I said, do you want to hear something crazy? She's like, what? I was like, the day you left, I booked a flight to Atlanta. I'm coming on Wednesday. Do you want me to stay with you, or do you want me to get a hotel? She's like, you can stay with me. She'd ended things with her boyfriend.
Wow.
Stayed with her 5 months ago. That's 5 months ago. I've not slept with her once. I've not I've like full on, like she's a Christian, like full on just respected all of that. Deep love. And yeah, we won't dive into how it all ended, but it ended just recently. And it taught me a lot about what I want and the person that I want. And even just the way she took the breakup like a champ, and how sure she is with herself, how confident she is, how close her relationship is with God, how great her family is and her relationship with her family, how well she's been brought up, her relationship to money, the trust she had in me, the way she looked at me, all of these things I couldn't quite explain, but they were so profound. It taught me a lot about what I want, and it really set a standard for the people I have in my life. And I think it's just one of those things that when I know, but I'm getting a whole lot clearer on what that looks like.
When you talk about it, you obviously talk about it as being such like a deep love. And I think we constantly think about, the way I think about it is around, well, if you were the person being broken up with, how hard it would be, or if they were to do like that heartbreak fucking sucks. It's probably the hardest thing that so many people go through. But you're on the other end where like you obviously did have that really deep love with her, but then you obviously ended it. How do you go from there navigating that? Like, is it still hard? What are the things that you do to, I guess, like move on from that? Because you talk about obviously wanting a family, and I imagine that's not it. How do you navigate through heartbreak?
When I look at the most life-changing moments in my life, they were in heartbreak. So when someone goes through a heartbreak, I feel for them, but I also feel happy for them because I know how much their life will change if they let it. I think because it's so rooted in me, I'm able to deal with this one a lot better because I'm so sure with who I am. And it's never fun hurting people. And it was a very, very hard decision because I'm like, what am I letting go of? This is crazy. This is so crazy. And then you speak to people and you have people saying, yeah, do it. People saying, don't do it. I ran into this guy in Bali, and he was a coach, and he was like, we just started chatting for like 45 minutes about all these things and about life and all this stuff. He then brings up, he's like, do you know this guy? And he's this really famous guy in America that's one of my really good friends. And instantly I was like, yeah, he's one of my really good friends, one of my best mates back there. And he's like, oh, he's a client of mine. And instantly, as soon as he said that, and this guy is like beating around the bush with what he does. He's like, I'm a psychologist, but he's much deeper than that. My friend back in America has spoken so highly about this mentor of his. And I was like, how'd you find him? He's like, oh, I just threw a referral of this guy. This guy has his whole business of referrals and everything. And as soon as he said, do you know this guy? I instantly was like, oh my God.
You're the guy.
You're the guy.
Yeah.
And he's very secretive about what he does, but he's powerful. And it all made sense after he said that like 45 minutes into our chat that we randomly met at Bamboo. And the next day I get a message from him. We exchanged deets. No, that night I got a message from him, exchanged deets. And he said, I felt really called to give you a session for free on the house. Like if you want to. He's like, yeah, you free tomorrow? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I go to his house in Bali. He just travels around. He's staying in this cool villa in Bali, and it's had a lot of character. It was this old school villa, similar like those like coloured windows and stuff all through it. And we walk into this spare room. I had no idea what the session was going to be. But before the session, that night, before the session in the morning, he knew nothing about my relationships, anything like this. And he sent me this message saying, hey, are you in a relationship right now? It's a little bit rocky. He just knew. And I didn't tell him anything about any of this. I've never posted anything about any of this. Like, he just knew. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, what's your relationship with women? And he just asked me. That was the only question he asked. Now, when he did the session, he's like, first got in and we went into this dark room. He shut all the blinds. He turned these really warm lights on. He's like, get comfy wherever you want. It's a 90-minute session. And I like sat on the bed and crossed my legs. And the first thing he said was like, why did you say yes to come to this? And I said, well, to be honest, man, like my life's never been better. Like I can't really think of anything wrong. Like everything's fucking winning. Like I'm loving life. Like everything seems to be so great. I'm probably in the best spot I've ever been. So I wouldn't probably seek out for something like this. But honestly, your friend who you work with, your client, who's one of my really good friends, I've never heard someone speak so highly about a coach. So I just was like, I've got to, and just have an open mind and see what happens. He's like, okay, great. We dive into this thing and like full blown eyes are closed the whole time. It's far more than just a psychologist session. It was like deep, bro. It was all this mirror work. He never gave me any advice for 90 minutes, but he got all this profound shit out of me. He's like, yeah, lean into any way that the feelings sound. And he was like expressing like sighs and repeating things back to me that I had said in different tonalities. And he was incredible. But we got to the end of it and he started doing these whiteboard exercises, and like an hour into my eyes being closed, we're in this tiny room, but it felt like I was in this massive dome, open, huge room with like stars on the ceilings. It was crazy. And we're like an hour in and he's like getting me to speak about all this stuff. I'd already spoke about this woman that I was dating and all these things. And he's like getting me to do this thing where he's like, I want you to write all of the things that we've just been speaking about on a whiteboard, all of the advice people have been giving you, the fancy poems that you've wrote about it, and all of the doubts, all the stuff. I want you to put it all on a whiteboard. I want you to like grab the eraser. I want you to erase it all off. He's like, let me know when you're done. Have you finished? Do you need more time? Like, let me know when it's all rubbed off. Like every little crack of the whiteboard pen, like, let me know when is it done? Like, do you need more time? Are you all good? And you like do all these things. And he's like, oh, cool, great. It's all clear. Wow. He's like, now, I want you to tell me about all the good things about her. What are the good? And I start listing all the good, and he's like saying in different tonalities, like, so good. And I've got my eyes shut, and he's saying it in all these tonalities. How good. Like all this stuff. And he kept doing all these things. And I'm like, we're like an hour 15 into this thing, deep. And then he pauses, and he had already identified something was off. And he's like, in silence, and he goes, do you want just good? And I was like, fuck. No. Like I don't want to settle. I want great. Like I want to feel like it's right. And then I like memorized that Just Good Enough poem because I wrote it in here and I memorized it all. And I started like reading it. I was like, I just wrote that a few days ago about how just good enough will chew you up and spit you out quicker than most things. He's like, make it personal. And I was like, just good enough will chew me up and spit me out quicker than most things. And then I was like proceeding to read the thing, and I was like, in my head, my eyes were shut. I was just like, living a subpar version of the life you dream is a coward act. He's like, make it personal. And he kept doing this. He's like, and my eyes are shut. Living a subpar version of the life I dream is a coward act. And I'm sitting in this after like all of this. And then like, he like, to fast forward this whole thing of this long process, he's like, all right, now we've done all of this. And he goes on the spiel around like, that's how most men live their life. Coward. They stay just good enough. They stay in things that are just good, X, Y, and Z. He's like, I want you to get that whiteboard out again. I want you to write all of the things that we just discussed, all of the things that were so great and it was so good, and the poem and the coward act and coward act, right. And you're like saying all this stuff. Like, I want you to rub it all off. And we're deep in this thing. And to close it all out, after we did all of that, he goes, now what do you actually want? That's all he said. And the first visual that came to my mind was this woman running on the beach, watching sunrise in a flowy dress. And she was exactly what I wanted. And then the thought that followed was, thank God I had that hard conversation. And I just went, sometimes you know the answer, but you're filled with so much noise that you don't have so much conviction that it's the right thing. So you live in the state where you question it all. And it took 90 minutes for someone asking open-ended questions and giving me no advice, but just making me speak in space, in silence, in the quiet, for me to be so convicted that the decision was the right decision. So that when I made that decision, I knew it was right. And I had to be a man and hold myself true to that. So now when I'm acting in it, I know, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, my head hits the pillow and I still think about her. She still calls me and, you know, I have to have these hard conversations again. And I speak to my mum and she goes, what have you done? I walked into my dad's house and there's a photo of me and her on the fridge. I don't even know how they got that photo. And like, yeah, these things are hard, but that's the price tag that I'm paying now, so that when I get in that dream relationship that I'm so convicted that I know, I can sit back and go, thank God I did that, because now I have this. And there's just getting to a state where you're not thinking the grass is always greener, but you just know when something's off and you know what you won't settle for. And then you put that energy out there and then you go and get it.
Seems like such a spiritual experience, hey? Like the fact that you can actually go deeper in yourself, but and beautiful that this guy has created an environment for you to be able to do that. I'm constantly thinking, I was like, well, how can we create that environment where we can like really sit and be still? And I think that's probably been a general theme throughout this whole conversation, is about going in within us and really thinking about like, what is it we really want? As it keeps coming up, like how do we recreate this environment for us so we're not so cluttered by the outside noise, by our screens, by social media, by our peers, by our parents? Like, what is it really in us?
Yeah. Anything that brings you closer to you is time well spent. We chase external things that cloud our internal view, pushing us further away from our soul's desires. Don't let the external world take you away from you. When we die, we're not left with much, but we are left with us and what we've done, what we've found out about ourselves. And we're not going to be thinking about the car we didn't buy when we're on our deathbed, but we are going to think about the times where we've learnt more about ourselves and then we've acted in alignment with that. And the more I achieve stuff in the external world, the less I realize it matters. And, you know, I don't think I've written it in this book, but I've written it somewhere else, around how it's not in here, but the biggest gift a high achiever can receive is enough is enough. A deep feeling that enough is enough, because all goose chases end in the same spot if they ever end. Most people never end their goose chase, and they can mask it with external success. So they can mask their lacking for what they have now with a bigger car, a bigger house, a hotter wife, whatever it is, right? And then they can tie their worth to something like that. But all of those things are fun, but they're fleeting. They're not there. And true success for me is exhausting those desires so that nothing can feel like everything that you have right now. You don't feel like you need anything. And that's the thing that I've just been pivoting. And so, you know, on my lock screen, it says that #1 podcast in the world. But the goal is the #1 podcast in the world, or have quit knowing that to get there, I would have lost the best parts of me, because it's not worth that price. And I am starting to realize that I'm not sure if you can achieve that without losing the best parts of you. And so climbing enough of the mountain so you still have such a great view, but also looking up at the mountain above, admiring it, but going, I might take the slow route up there for the rest of my life and not try and sprint, because I know that that's okay, but I don't need that. Like feeling like knowing that you can achieve that and having the confidence that you're competent enough to climb the mountain, but not feeling like you need to, is the best spot to be. Because then you're full within yourself and you're confident with who you are and what you're doing, but you're actually okay with who you are now as well. And oftentimes you need to climb the mountain to achieve that feeling and that knowing. But when you feel it, it's so important to try and listen to that calling, I think, because you're just going to end up in this cycle that never ends.
Dude, I feel like this is a beautiful place to finish, brother.
Sick.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, bro. I feel like you've really, like, you're an expander, dude. Like, you have your opinions and you're an expander. And I feel like every time that we have a conversation pushes me to want to be a better version of myself. Like, I can think of a handful of moments throughout this conversations where I think I was concrete and stuck in my thoughts, and you're like, nah, fuck that, dude. What about this? And puts me in a position where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can be better. Maybe I can do it a different way. And I think that's why these conversations are really important, because it challenges us. And I think for anyone listening, like, being open to that, being open to being challenged by other things, kind of like that guy you did a podcast with, like, he had no ego. He was happy to be wrong. And so, dude,
he knew so much more about everything than I did.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the key there too. Knowing but feeling like you don't know anything makes you show up in a way that is very profound. And yeah, I think we all have this bubbly energy in us. And when I speak with conviction, I think we all can access that. We just need to unlearn a lot of the stuff. Like, this girl I went on a date with last night was the bubbliest soul ever. But it felt like, and I had this weird visual towards the end, and I don't know how I'm seeing all this shit randomly, but I think the more time I spend alone, I feel this stuff. But she had this bubbly, energetic nature.
Yeah.
And, like, loved the pottery, loved all this stuff, got so excited about it. Grew up on a farm. She's German, like, all the thing, right? And, like, gorgeous and natural, and had this, like, light about her soul. And I had this visual of, like, this really bubbly creature inside this cage. And every time she would break out of the cage, she was so bubbly. And then she would have these different beliefs in her life that were just beliefs because that's how she's being brought up. That's what she knows. And she hasn't had anyone in her life challenge that to make her go, huh, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I should challenge my identity on this piece. Yeah. And there was so many different times where, like, I never told her anything of advice or anything like this, but all I did was just ask her why, or ask her a question. And you would watch her initial response was speaking from this cage lens. Like, I would never be able to do this because of this, and I would do this. And then I would ask her a question, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say never say.
Yeah, I love that.
And then you just start to see this cage, and if you visualize it, like this cage of like one buckle's just clipped open, and then she's like poked a little bit of her skin out, and then, like, she's nearly out again, and then that one view, like, she breaks free from it. And then, like, this bubbly nature just went, yeah. I was like, bloop, 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 bloop. And, like, everyone has it, but they're in their way based on the stories and their identity that they're identifying as. And the only reason I feel like I can have so much conviction is because I just don't feel like I'm in a cage. I feel like everything's possible, and I really believe it is. And so, yeah, it's been an honor, dude. And I appreciate you even inviting me on and having me on the show. I think it's awesome, and I'm glad to be able to chat with the audience. And I'm not sure if anyone would be listening this long into some podcast. I don't even know how long we've been rolling
Super for. Fan. I don't know how long you're going for either.
But yeah, I appreciate you, bro. It's been great to see your journey too, and I'm so excited to see everything that unfolds, the place, the family, the pod, and it's such an exciting time for you, dude.
Thank you, dude. And hey, likewise, like, I know you don't jump on too many pods, so I'm grateful just to use this as a bit of a catch up and see where you're at, brother, and hopefully catch you in the US at some stage this year.
Exciting times.
Let's go, dude.